touch of family history to your festivities with this gorgeous handcrafted Christmas stocking. Your relatives will be intrigued when they see this beauty hanging on your fireplace mantel with the faces of ancestors of long ago peeking out amongst the beautiful heirloom fabrics. They'll be asking, "Who is that?" and begging you to tell them more about the meaning of this very special tribute to your family history. Over the years, I've hand-stitched Christmas stockings for my 3 daughters, and I've always intended to create a nice one for myself, but could just never make up my mind about what I wanted it to be. Well, now that my children are grown and genealogy is my full-time work, I knew exactly what I wanted to create. A stocking that honors my heritage. And more specifically, as the mom in this family, I wanted my stocking to reflect all the moms who have come before me. I love how this stocking reflects how I feel about the ladies in my family tree and the joy that they brought to their families at Christmas time. I call it the Ladies' Legacy Christmas Stocking. This stocking comes together in a crazy quilt pattern that is particularly appropriate since many of these women were accomplished seamstresses and quilters. I wanted everything about this stocking to speak to their legacy. And believe it or not, this was not difficult to do. If you can run a straight stitch with a sewing machine and have a computer and inkjet printer, you can create a Christmas heirloom stocking of your own. And of course, you can use the techniques I'm about to teach you in so many different ways to tell your unique family history story. It's all about the photographs, the fabrics, and style that you choose. Iron-on transfers make it possible to add the faces of your ancestors or other images from the past to the fabrics so that they can reflect the story that you want to tell. I'm excited to show you how to create your legacy Christmas stocking, so let's get started. Here's a list of the supplies that you're going to need. Iron-on transfers. I used Avery's inkjet t-shirt transfers that I got at my local office supply store. Old photos that have been scanned. Some coordinated fabrics that reflect your theme. You don't need much, so look through your scraps, and I always check the remnant bin at the local fabric store. I've picked up some great fabrics that way for a fraction of the off-the-bolt price. You'll need about a half a yard of white or off-white muslin or cotton fabric, about 1 yard of coordinating fabric for the back and lining, scissors. You need both paper and fabric scissors, a seam ripper, straight pins, a pencil, some butcher paper for making a pattern, a sewing machine, an iron, your computer, and an inkjet printer. Also, some embroidery floss that coordinates with your fabric, and embellishments if you want them. I'll show you some examples of what I used in just a few minutes. Step 1. Select your theme. The story you decide to tell with your stocking will dictate the fabrics, photographs, and embellishments that you choose. For my stocking, my theme is the ladies of my family tree, and I thought that the soft pastel colors emphasize that nicely. However, you can go in so many different directions. Here's a stocking I made for my grandson with a cowboy theme. It, too, incorporates the crazy quilting style, fabrics that convey the theme, including the pocket from a real pair of jeans, and old photographs. This is the first silent film cowboy, Bronco Billy, and he was the perfect choice since my grandson's middle name is William after my husband, Bill, who was also known as Billy when he was little. Step 2. Scan your photos. Select old photos that tell your story. I collected ones for all the moms and grandmothers that I have photographs of from my family tree. As you can see, the original photos were taken from larger photographs and they vary in color. Well, don't worry about that right now. Simply create a folder on your desktop, on your computer, where you can store all the photographs once they're scanned. And using a digital scanner, scan them into your computer at a minimum of 300 dpi directly into that folder. I like to save them as PNG files to get nice, high-quality, uncompressed images. Since we're going to alter the images, JPEG files are not recommended because they do deteriorate each time they're altered and resaved. Step 3. Modify your photographs for the look that you want. Most computers come equipped with a basic photo editing program. But if you don't have one, you can download Google's Picasa program for free at picasa.google.com. Open your first photograph in the editor. Crop it to suit your stocking. In my case, I cropped each photo to just be a headshot. Next, alter the color if you want to. Depending on your fabrics, you may want to convert them all to black and white, or you can make them all sepia tone, or as I did, alter them to various colors that coordinate with the fabrics that you selected. Finally, consider reframing the image. Softened edges help transition from image to fabric and was particularly well suited for my stocking, which was featuring all these ladies. I like to keep them very simple so that the faces really stand out. However, you might decide to do a stocking devoted to a family ancestral home or a location where you're going to be using street scenes and the like. So decide what's going to look best on what you want your end product to look like. Step 4. Add all the photographs to one page. Since the images are rather small, you can fit several on a single page of transparency paper. And doing so is going to save you money. So insert the images into a software program like Word by adding a text box for each photograph and inserting the image into the box. Remove any outlines and then resize the image to fit your stocking. Be sure and add a few extra images for test ironing on the fabric. When you have everything set, print your page out on regular paper so that you can see how the final is going to look and make sure that your sizes are appropriate for your stocking. Step 5. Print the page onto a sheet of iron-on transfer paper. For best results, select Print and then Properties, and select the highest quality setting before you do your printing. Step 6. Transfer the photos to the fabric. First, trim each photograph separately as closely as you can. Turn your iron on the cotton setting, but don't use steam. Do a test application first. Select a piece of fabric. Images look best really on solid backgrounds, so tuck your photos in between the patterns and the print of the fabric. On your board, lay out the pillowcase for a little bit of cushion and lay out your fabric. And then place your transparency image upside down onto the fabric. Apply your iron, and again, don't use the steam setting, and press very firmly. After a few seconds, you can slowly and gently move the iron to prevent scorching. Small images like these typically take about 30 seconds of ironing. When you're done, pick up the piece and set it aside so that it can cool completely. Don't leave it on the pillowcase because that pillowcase is probably still hot. After a few minutes, your piece should be nice and cool. So you can just gently start at one edge and carefully peel off the paper. If all goes well, you should have a nice, clear image. Now, if you run into trouble with part of the image sticking to the paper as it peeled off, then that's an indication that your iron is not hot enough or you didn't iron long enough. So try increasing the heat and add about 10 seconds to your ironing time. After a few test pieces, you'll have it mastered and will be ready to apply your images to the fabric pieces. And here's a tip. If you're tempted to touch up the fabric with a little bit of extra ironing after you've applied the image, be very careful not to touch the transferred image with the iron because it will melt and smear the image.